Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're opening up a really intentional and kind of subtle map. A map for understanding how deep thinkers, these intuitive souls, approach the monumental task of, well, love and relationships.
Right.
We're diving into what we're calling the quiet person's guide to love.
And this guide really isn't about your typical dating advice. It's about shifting your entire framework, you know?
Okay.
Our source material confirms this core distinction. Quiet people, they just love differently. Their affection it's slow, it's intentional, and it's all about depth.
It strips away all the noise.
Exactly. The dramatics, the big performances, it prioritizes consistency and just a steady presence. So this deep dive is really our effort to help you recognize that subtle but incredibly powerful kind of love.
So that's the mission then. We need to get fluent in this quiet language of affection.
Yeah.
Learn how to spot the signs when they aren't, loud or obvious, and this is crucial. Identify the unique, non-negotiable needs these quiet partners have for real emotional safety.
Exactly. And that really has to start by tackling the biggest misunderstanding of all.
Which is?
The idea that love has to be a performance.
Right. I mean, our whole culture rewards visibility.
Yeah.
If you're not posting it, shouting it, gifting it, is it even real?
Is it even happening? Yeah. The sources push back on this, and they push back hard. They argue that for quiet people, love is something that's felt. It's internal, consistent, deep. It's felt far more than it's ever seen in public.
It's like the difference between a spotlight and a deep foundation.
That's a great way to put it. And if we look at how they actually express this affection, it often takes these 6 subtle forms that are so easy to miss if you're looking for, flowers and big declarations.
Okay, so what are they?
Well, first is presence, just simply being there.
Yeah.
Physically available. And then they offer steady energy.
Okay, hold on. Let's unpack that one. What does steady energy actually look like in practice? Because for a lot of people, steady just sounds boring.
It's a fair question, but for the quiet soul, it means safety. It's the absence of those dramatic highs.
Followed by the crashing lows.
Exactly. It's a predictable calm. Then they offer calm, emotional availability. You know they're ready to listen, but they don't rush you or try to fill every silence.
And then there are things like thoughtful gestures.
Not expensive, but really personalized. And finally, you have consistent loyalty and this deep, unspoken understanding.
That distinction between presence and performance is just so key here. The material gives this great example.
Yeah.
It says, a quiet lover can sit right beside you in total silence. And you can feel closer to them than many people do after hours of talking.
Yeah.
Their simple presence is the message.
And that profound consistency, that leads us right into this idea of the slow opening.
The slow opening.
Yeah, the text uses this beautiful analogy. It describes their hearts opening like ancient doors.
That's lovely.
And it's not about fear. They're not hesitant. It's about sacredness. They are discerning, not distant, deep, not cold.
So their caution is actually a sign of respect for the relationship's potential. It's not a fear of intimacy itself.
Precisely.
So if they're that discerning, what are the non-negotiable requirements for that sacred door to even begin to open?
Well, trust, of course, but also profound emotional safety and patience, a lot of patience. Intimacy has to be built gradually at their pace.
Which can feel painstakingly slow to someone on the outside.
It can. But the reward is immense. When a quiet person finally trusts you, when they open up, the sources are clear. That commitment is intentional. It's permanent. It's a soul-level connection. They don't open that door lightly, and they don't close it easily once that bond is there.
Which brings us right into those silent requirements.
Yeah.
The foundation of it all. Emotional safety. We hear that term all the time, but for the quiet lover, it's not just a nice to have, it's the air they breathe.
It is. Without it, that door slams shut. With it, they bloom. They can become surprisingly playful, affectionate, really expressive.
So we have to be specific here. What does emotional safety actually look like for them?
It's very specific. It means being spoken to with calm, regulated voices, especially during a disagreement. It means being allowed time to process.
Right, without that pressure for an immediate response.
Yes. And I think you've touched on something huge there. It's crucial that their silence isn't pathologized.
Or treated like passive aggression.
Exactly. Emotional safety is not being shamed for needing space. It's knowing they're quiet won't be misunderstood as them being angry or disinterested. They're not looking for a perfect partner. They're demanding stability over chaos.
Stability over perfection. I love that. And because they're constantly monitoring for that safety, the sources point out how heavily they rely on their intuition.
Oh, massively. Quiet people are masters of the environment. They're reading tone, energy, inconsistencies.
Emotional currents, spiritual alignment.
Yeah.
They're like these high-resolution internal scanners.
And that makes them incredibly attuned lovers, very honest, very loyal. But, and this is a big, but intuition has a shadow side.
A liability if it's not checked.
Right. It has to be calibrated against reality.
But how do you do that? How do you calibrate intuition? It sounds like you're asking them to just turn off their superpower.
It's not about turning it off. It's about grounding it. This shadow of intuition can make them misread a partner's quiet day as, emotional distance.
Or confuse simple discomfort with actual danger.
Yes. Predicting hurt before it even exists.
Oh.
The sources suggest the way to calibrate is through conscious communication. You check the intuitive feeling against the stable, observable reality of your partner's behavior.
You build clarity through evidence, not just pure feeling.
Exactly. So that fear doesn't take over.
So if their hearts open slowly, it makes sense that the relationships operate on a unique timeline too. This gets us to bonding rhythms. This is a signature trait that partners absolutely have to understand to avoid that panic when their quiet lover suddenly seems distant.
This is critical for the long run.
Right.
There are 3 rhythms, and they reflect their genuine energy reserves. First is minimal effort bonding. Energy is low. They aren't withdrawing, but they just need quiet presence. Silence, maybe a short text, just sitting in the same room reading.
And this is where a high-energy partner starts to panic.
Totally. They see minimal effort and think it's fading interest. But the key is knowing the cycle always comes back around. The next stage is medium effort bonding.
So energy is a bit higher.
Steady energy. They start initiating conversation, sharing thoughts, maybe suggesting a walk or watching a movie. They're consciously investing now.
And then the peak. Full effort bonding.
This is when they're fully open, present, expressive, affectionate. It's intense connection, deep talks, laughing, feeling completely in sync.
A secure partner understands that dropping back down to minimal isn't a threat.
It's just an energetic need. Respecting that rhythm reinforces the stability they crave.
And that understanding leads right into their communication needs. Because they process so deeply, they can really struggle with confrontation.
Oh, absolutely. With emotional chaos, with fast-paced arguments, or being forced to respond instantly when things are heated.
It's not that they're resisting communication.
No, it's a need for internal translation time. They have to take these huge, complex emotions and translate that vast inner world into coherent language. If you push for an answer right away in a conflict,
You'll either get silence or a panicked, underdeveloped response.
that's it. So when they're struggling to articulate something difficult, the best response from a partner isn't to force an answer. It's to reinforce that stability.
By saying something like,
Genuinely saying, take your time, I'm not going anywhere.
that simple phrase honors their need for reflection and reinforces their non-negotiable need for safety.
Okay, now we're at the section that I think is just transformative for anyone loving a quiet soul.
Yeah.
Our sources are so clear that the traditional 5 love languages model, it's just not enough here.
It's insufficient.
Yeah.
Quiet souls have what the material calls 6 love languages of depth, and these matter more than any typical outward gesture.
So let's go through them systematically. What's the first one? The first is presence. We touched on it, but as a love language, it's simply existing near them, breathing the same air. No requirement for interaction. It's a passive, accepted togetherness.
Number 2 is peace.
A huge one. This is a nonstop need for an environment free of chaos, of drama. If the relationship is calm and stable, that itself is registered as a profound act of love.
Third is understanding.
And this is more than just validation. It's the feeling of being known intuitively, without having to exhaustively explain every single thought or feeling.
That's a high bar. That takes a lot of observational work from the partner. Number 4 is silent affection.
Right, not public displays. This is affection shown through a subtle touch, a specific look, a shared quiet moment that feels intensely personal, a secret language.
The 5th one sounds the most complex, psychic bonding.
It is. It's that deep, unspoken attunement between 2 deep thinkers. It's that moment you just know what they needed before they did. It feels like soul-deep affirmation.
And finally, number 6, and maybe the most important one, emotional steadiness. Why is this a love language and not just, a basic requirement for any healthy relationship?
Because for the quiet lover, their default setting is internal vigilance. They're always sensing for danger. A partner who stays grounded, calm, and stable, especially during conflict, is the ultimate display of commitment.
It says, you can relax, I've got this.
Precisely. You can put down your surveillance system. I am the anchor. That registers as profound care, not just baseline function, providing that steadiness is actively nourishing their soul.
Wow. Recognizing these 6 languages really is the map. If you can provide peace, understanding, and emotional steadiness, those quiet forms of care will resonate so much more deeply than any loud gesture ever could.
They're looking for that internal sanctuary, not surface validation. And as we wrap up, we should just briefly touch on the quiet lover's shadow.
Their vulnerability.
hmm They can retreat too far when they get overwhelmed. They might overthink a small shift in tone or really struggle to start a necessary conflict because they need that peace so badly.
So the crucial takeaway is awareness. Their silence is almost never apathy. Their retreat is rarely rejection. Their slowness isn't disinterest.
It's just the part of them still learning to trust the safety of the love you're offering.
When that trust is there, when a quiet heart loves, it's transformative. It becomes a sanctuary from the world's chaos.
It is. It's a love of presence, attention, intuition, peace. It resonates instead of shouting.
So if a quiet soul's love is a sanctuary, built on their need for emotional steadiness, here's a very specific thought for you to carry forward this week. What's one proactive step you can take to practice delaying your own frustrated reaction by just 60 seconds the next time you face a stressful moment? Recognizing that those 60 seconds of your intentional stability, that might just be their most profound love language of depth.
That's a powerful thought.
It's something to mull over until our next deep dive.